Hello guys, it's Trading Visit here. Today we're going to talk about how to send post orders to the Binance API and how to place orders using the request module in Python. So first thing is a standard procedure. You need to install requests, so pip install requests. It's an external module for Python that allows you to use post and get orders more easily. So we're going to place the orders to the Binance API via the post function from the request module. So we first need to import requests. The first thing we're going to define is the base URL, which is the roadmap or the destination for the post function to go to get to post an order. So a constant named base URL will be, if you navigate to the Binance website, the Binance API website, which you'll have posted in the description. We'll see that site. We go to spot trading and we need to get the base URL for that post function. It's going to be the same as in the get function. So we go to general API information, we copy the first link and we paste it into this string. So then the URL addition or something, this suffix was for the market order. If we navigate trading endpoints, it was API v3 order. Now we have the complete URL for the post function. So we create an endpoint, which is the base URL plus URL addition. If we go to this website, it takes these parameters, which are symbol, size, type, time enforced, which is not mandatory, and I'm usually going to use only the mandatory arguments here, because that's what we care about. The rest you can read about by yourself. So we're going to have to specify the symbol, the site, and the type for now. And the site and the type are enums. So let's see what those are. So the possible order types and order sites are limit, market, stop loss, blah blah blah, and order sites, buy and sell. And all of that is in uppercase, which is very important. So if you go back to VS Code, we can define a constant name site, and it's going to be, let's say, buy with the uppercase, and we define a constant named type, and we call it market. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to make a limit order because it's a little more complicated. Let's see what else was required. There was also a symbol parameter and a timestamp parameter. So we define a symbol to be, let's say, Bitcoin, and we define a timestamp. Now let's just keep it lowercase. Now for the timestamp, we're going to download our time, our current time in the UTC +0 in milliseconds, so 1,000th of a second. So for that we need to import time to get our machine time. Now we define time dot. From the time module we take the time function and it returns a float. It returns the time in seconds. So to get milliseconds we need to multiply that by 1,000, and actually that still will return a floating point number. If we print it, you will see that we get 0.4485 for me right now. So we need to round that because Binance only takes integers for timestamp. If we see that the timestamp is long, so it is an integer. If it were a float, it would say decimal. So we need to floor that or something. Math floor. It is a function in the math module, imports math. And a floor is basically cutting the decimal bit off the number and leaving the base number. So now we define a parameters variable and we make it a dictionary, essentially a JSON. we say symbol, it is our symbol. We say side, we set it to the side we specified earlier. You could do it statically, like put by here, but it would just be, you know, bad code. You want everything to be in variables for flexibility. And then you set the type to the type constant. I'm sorry, I clicked something. The type constant. Price. Now, these are the three parameters I told you that were mandatory. Oh, also there was a timestamp. Timestamp. And it will be set to the, wait, not that, to the timestamp which is defined. Now, the four are mandatory, but there are actually many more that we need to use for the order to have to make sense. So if we buy Bitcoin, I mean, if we take the coin Bitcoin and we buy it on a limit order, we also need the price, right? Logically, it's going to be, I don't know, a price variable, and we need the volume variable, because we need to know how much of that Bitcoin we need to buy. So we have some parameters that are price, and it says it's not mandatory. But if you scroll down, you can see some additional mandatory parameters based on other order type. If you have a limit order, you need to put quantity and price in. Now this time enforce, it actually isn't that required because it has a default value, but quantity and price are needed. Now quantity is the amount of Bitcoin you want to buy, and quote order quantity is the amount of USDT you want to spend. So you need to choose either. Now I think you would agree that it makes more sense to use quote order quantity because it's quicker. You don't have to convert to the quantity with the price and everything. Let's just use quote order quantity and set it to amount. Let's call a variable like that, amount. Let's set it to $10. Now I still haven't defined the price variable because you would normally set it dynamically. Let's set it to 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, right? It's just a tutorial. Now we need to join these parameters as a query string. So it's a string that looks something like that. This string looks something like that. Symbol, I mean the symbol key. So key equals value, and key2 equals value2, etc. That's a query string. So how do you do it? We need to join this equals that into a string. So how do we do it? Let's first define a list. So it would be params list, let's say, and put it equal to a list of strings. Key, it needs to be a list of formatted strings. Key equals value. So it would be this equals that for key value in parameters items. This .items method returns an iterable that contains symbol values, a key value, and all that in a list like object. So this iteration actually works, and it's a smart way to create these strings. And then we need to, because that will create a list of key equals value strings, and we need to join that list with this symbol. So we get this symbol, we call .join on that symbol, and we have to put an iterable. It's going to be params list, just like that, and we can call that variable query string is equal to that variable. And if we print it now, print query string, I think it should not break. Let's see. Yeah, printed just what I wanted. Symbol is equal to Bitcoin and site is buy and type is limit, and there are not to be any spaces in between the equal signs and the ampersands and all that. It has to be a long string, just like that. So if I clear the command line for you. And next, what we need to do is create a signature. Now, what is a signature? If we go to Binance and go to trading endpoints, we can see that new order has a trade word in parentheses. Now what that means is it has to be authenticated for you to send it. We go to endpoint security type and we read this whole page, which you actually don't need to do, I just did it for you. That's why I'm recording this video. And we see each endpoint has a security type that determines how you will interact with it. So there's a non-security type in GET, request, and some other ones. There's a trade security type, which is actually what we're interested in. And the other two, let's just skip for now. So trade endpoint requires sending a valid API key and signature. So let's go back and define a constant named API key. And we also need an API secret to encode that API key. So in the API key we'll put our API key, which I'm not going to do in here. So just put random letters in, and the same goes for API secrets. Now, API key is like the login you use in the Binance API and other APIs basically. And the API secret is a key that a function will use to cipher, to code your query string and your API key, etc. And your API key should be only known to Binance and yourself. So it's basically like a mode. It's basically a mode that you put your data through and only Binance can decipher it. So that's a pair of useful constants. Obviously don't show it to anyone. It's meant to be private. So if we go back to the website, we see endpoint security type, blah blah blah, signed. Signed endpoints require an additional parameter, signature, to be sent in the query string or request body. And now how do we create this signature? Now we need to download, we need to import HMAC, and to use the HMAC properly we need to import hashlib also. Hashlib is a library with some data for the HMAC module, and we use the HMAC to create, to basically cipher data. So HMAC.new, we create a new cipher data, and we put in key in bytes. So we need to specify our key, which is API key dot encode. So we turn it into bytes. Then we get the message, and the message is actually the parameters string, so the query string. I'm pretty sure, yes it is. Query string.encode. And then you actually don't need to specify anything in these parentheses, because it's UTF-8 by default, which is what we're using. Then we need to provide the method, which is here, digest mod, and we set it to hashlib dot SHA-256, and you don't put parentheses in. And then we need to hex digest the sign. So sign is sign dot hex digest. Turns it into hexadecimals. Then, as the website said, oh, here it is. Signed endpoints require an additional parameter, signature. Now, how do we do it? We take the parameters dictionary, that one, and we call the signature key. We set it equal to the signature value. I just call it sign for short. You can call it whatever you like. And then we need to put headers in for the request body. If we go back to the website, we see HMAC keys. It describes how to code it. Not there. Where is it? Headers. Oh, there it is. Endpoint security type. We get API keys are passed into the REST API via the XMBX API key header. That's a keyword. We go back. Headers is XMBX API key, and we set it equal to our API key. So we used our API. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a grave mistake. I'm sorry. It was meant to be API secrets, not API key. Oh, I'm sorry. Because that's the key. Sorry, I was... Yeah, you're meant to use API secret. Because that's the key for the ciphering, not the key, not your API key. So you use API secret as the key for the ciphering, and then you put your API key in as a header into our post request, which we finally can call. We set a variable called response, because post orders actually return responses. Requests.post. We get the URL, which we defined as where is it? Endpoint. Data, no. We define the params right there as a JSON, and our parameters are in a variable called parameters. Very obviously. And headers parameter, we set it equal to the headers dictionary right there. And then if we call that print response, we will actually see a very weird response, because it's an object we need to decode into like JSON. So we put response is equal to response.json, and we're basically losing that object by reassigning the response to itself with a method code, but we don't need that object anymore. So if we print it now, we get API key format invalid. And why is that? Well, because I didn't define my own API key and secret, but just used some placeholders. So thanks for watching. Although I did not show you the bot works, I mean the method works. It is true, it does work. I've tested it before. And if you want me to make a trading bot for you, instead of all that hassle, as we saw there, 50 lines, 55 lines, I mean with some spaces in between, but 55 lines to just post an order. If you want me to spare you the time and the hassle, you can actually request a trading bot from me on Fiverr. I'm going to put a link in the description. So if you want me guys to help you, then hit me up, right?